Computer. Guys, welcome to the podcast. Today I have got Lawrence Parnis on with me from Guess Megla Dental. I was just flagging Lawrence there because his background is awesome. And here I am with my plain background. I feel I'm underperforming now with that background. Welcome, Lawrence. What's the crack?
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Dinny. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, and being able to share my story. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to keep it simple. Really, tell
Deadly,
me a
yeah. Well,
story.
that's exactly what I want to ask you about. We sort of met through Crypto with Dinny, and I've followed your journey as you've had built your understanding of Bitcoin to where you are today. But I'd like to, before we get to that, just talk to me because I know you're a serial entrepreneur, and so maybe take us a little bit through your journey from I suppose leaving school or wherever you want to pick up the story and take us through to where you are today.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Well, I was quite young leaving school. I done my leaving cert when I was 16 years of age, which is fairly young. Everybody else in my class was probably 18, some people were 19. I always had I came from a background with all our family always had their own businesses, and my dad had businesses and various businesses over his lifetime. And we moved here like a long time ago. I know, like when I'm talking to people on the phone, but when I go and really meet them, they're saying, "Oh, is this Lawrence?" And over the years, I used to get that a lot because of my accent. It's really Irish accent. Uh, but I'm living here like 42, 43 years. We moved here when I was 5 or 6 years of age. My uh, dad always worked. He built up a nice big transport business, a haulage business. I worked in that for a little bit, but I never really enjoyed it per se. I'm trained as an engineer, and I got into that whole thing, but I kind of was guided that way by my father, what he done with engineering, and then I kind of first started my first business in when I was 21 years of age, uh, and I grew that fairly successfully. We're involved in the events business and the event management business for over 25 years, for 25, maybe 30 years. And I got involved in IT business as well about 6, 7 years ago. And that's how I kind of got into Megla Dental and what we built it up to now. So Megla Dental is an online business. So I created a system using AI and machine learning. We work with dentists. That's what our niche is. So niche right down. And we only work with dentists that want to increase their high ticket offers, like Invisalign or dental implants. Each of those patients that we find for them are worth about 3,500 up to 20,000 per case. And that's what our system does. It's an online system using AI and machine learning. We're actually in 4 countries right now. The pandemic, whereas a lot of people struggle through it, it kind of made me really focus and concentrate and look at how digital is going to change the world. Now, we all see it around us, but a lot of people just don't really understand it or take it in. What changes are actually happening right now, and they're happening so fast. You know? So in 2020, as we all know, we were all told to stay at home, close your business, you can't go to work, you can't do this. And the events industry was demolished, basically, by a few people made that choice and told us millions, billions of people around the world that we couldn't work anymore. We couldn't feed our families. How are we going to survive? But what I done was I took that opportunity to start learning about different things that are out there, and I started watching a lot about what's going on in the world. And I always had it in the back of my head. I was thinking, like, if the government's making us close down our businesses, what's going to happen when we restart? We can't restart the whole world again, And it went from like 2 weeks to 4 weeks to 6 weeks, and it just kept on going on and on. And as we were going through that journey, I was saying, people, there's something serious going to happen in the future. So I started learning. as you said, yeah.
And
And
I was just going to say, I have that written down as one of my questions because I remember when we first met, you know, and I meet a lot of people in Crypto with Dinny, and I probably don't remember everyone, but I did remember, I always remember the first time I spoke to you because it came across as this guy's looking for something. Bitcoin is probably what he's looking for. He just doesn't know it yet, but he knows there's something wrong, and he's searching like mad. You can hear it in his voice, you can hear it in his energy that he's looking for something. And it's kind of funny because it always just struck me. And then as we got to know each other, because of course, some people come to one workshop, you've done about 3 workshops, and you came to an in person event. So you were like a sponge. And I suppose it's only as I got to know you, it's like, well, he's an entrepreneur. That's what entrepreneurs do. You go deeper, you go harder, you give up more of your time because you want to get the most out of something. If I'm going to pay for something, I want the most value out of it. So I suppose, how did you get into Bitcoin then? You were looking for something and you thought you felt something was wrong, and then you sort of stumbled across into Bitcoin. What was that journey like? What was that learning like, or your progression?
yeah, so in 2020, when everything was closed down, I had a lot of time on my hands to start learning. And I always say, like, knowledge is power. The more knowledge we get, the more power it gives us. And there's a lot of things out there, and a lot of people or institutions or whatever, they don't want us to have power. And you need to understand that. Yeah. So in 2020, I was learning about what was going on in the world, what was happening. I stumbled across cryptocurrency. I was watching a few videos about certain cryptocurrencies, and I dipped my toe in the water with crypto, and I invested in a little bit of crypto. I listened to people that I was learning from, and I only went in very small with €100. That's all I started with, €100. And I was doing a little bit of trading because I had time at that time. And I increased that €100 to €4,500 by doing a few little trades. So I got an ROI really of 4,500%, a return on investment. And then I said, okay, there's something here. I need to learn a lot more about this. If I can turn €100 in and exit by 4,500%, there's definitely something here. And that's when I actually came across your channel, and I actually met you at an event that we were holding, a car event that I was managing. And we started talking, and you told me that you're from Crypto from Dinny. I never really knew who you were or what you were about. And I went online that day at that event, and I just started looking at some of your videos and said, this guy makes sense. I just started really connecting with you and listening to your videos. And it just made a lot of sense because I knew there was something definitely wrong in the world. Definitely something was going to happen, or something was going to crash, or something was going to happen. And then I started just learning a lot more about Bitcoin and just started just following loads of different people on Bitcoin. Yeah. So that was in 2020. Started dipping my toe in a little bit. The hardest part for me was to get started and really start buying Bitcoin. Yeah, and understanding the different platforms that are out there. Because a lot of people, when I was doing like the altcoin that I invested in, I done it on Revolut. Yeah, and as we move along and we learn, you don't actually own the personal keys. You don't actually own anything once you have it on Revolut. Yeah, you can't take it off the exchange. You can't take personal possession of it. And that was a good learning curve for me as well, because I know there is a lot of people, and it is a good place to start, but long term, it's not where you want to stay. You know?
Okay, and talk me through how your understanding of Bitcoin has developed. Like how if you were to try and explain Bitcoin to someone now, how would you do that? And I know your understand, like my understanding changes every year, it changes a little bit. But like whereabouts are you on that? If you're to try and explain Bitcoin to me, and I don't have a clue, and you're just trying to, I suppose, talk to me about the benefits or why you own it. How would you best do that?
Yeah. Well, the way I see it is, okay. that we've been using this fiat currency for the last, say, 100 years, okay? And people don't really understand how it works or how it's been inflated by our central banks and our governments, yeah? From the data that I have, and I'm really into data now, yeah? We've been expanding from 2008 up until 2019, the fiat currency up by approximately 10% every year. So they're printing more money, 10% of the money. In 2020, they started printing 20% of the total money of euros or dollars or sterling. By 2021, they actually printed between 30 and 40%, depends on what currency you're using. So for every 100 euros that I would have had from 2020, first of all, I lost 20% in 2020. So for 100 euros, I lost 20% value of the currency. It brought me down to 80 euros. In 2021, I lost minimum 30% of the value of that money. So it brought me down to 50% of the value of that currency that we're using. And in 2022, they're going to just keep on printing the money and diluting the value of that currency by at least another 30 to 40%. So over 3 years, I've lost nearly a minimum of 80% of the value of my money. And that goes to the money that I earn every day from what I can buy from it, or the money that I have in the bank that's stored as a store of value in the bank or my savings. We're losing the value of our currency. And it's happening so fast and rapidly now, but I don't think a lot of people get it though. And they don't understand it. I know they're seeing prices are going up in the shops. Your diesel is going up, your electricity is going up, your gas is going up, your food is going up, everything's going up. Yeah, some things are going up faster than other things. Yeah. I know in Ireland, we had an increase in our electricity by 20 or 21% in May, and it's May now. But in January, we had a 30% increase. So that's in 6 months, in less than 6 months, we've had a 50% increase on our electricity costs. And that goes across the board for petrol, diesel, gas, oil. So,
and the next thing to come in will be price controls, which will, governments think what we'll do is we'll put a cap on petrol. You can only charge X amount for it. What that does is it drives the price higher because there's a reason it's priced at that price. And if you put a price cap on it, well, people can't afford to make the good or service. So then there's even more scarcity, so the price goes even higher. Short term, it causes a solution, typical government thinking, short term thinking, not looking at long term consequences. But I actually only heard rumors of price control talk today. It's the first time I heard mention of price controls, which actually makes the problem worse. So that's fiat. So I suppose, explain to me, how does Bitcoin fix this?
well, the way I see Bitcoin is 5 years ago, if I wanted to buy, say, a car, okay, just say, for example, any car, a Porsche, we just say, okay, I probably would have needed 20 Bitcoin to buy that Porsche, right? The value of Bitcoin has gone up. So now I only need maybe 5 Bitcoin to buy that same Porsche. Yeah. Whereas if I was using fiat currency, 25 years ago, the price of the Porsche would have been a little bit lower, but so I would have to use less fiat. Yeah. But now, because of the expanding of the currency, I need to use more fiat. And that's the way I see it. And I didn't get that like 2 years ago. It's only when I really started looking into this, I started getting it, that I need more fiat currency to pay for what I need. But in fact, things should be actually cheaper because technology brings us on an advancement. So things should be getting cheaper, not more expensive. but it's the other way around. It doesn't make sense at all. So there's something massively, massively, massively wrong there. But most people just don't get it.
No. I said common sense is gone. Like, if you use common sense, you look at the world today and you go, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
If you don't use common sense and you just do a herd mentality, group think, you just go, oh yeah, this is the way it is, and it's always been like this, and it always will be like this. But if you step back and use common sense, it's just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. And the same as crypto. Instead of zooming in all the time, we need to zoom out and have a look from and see exactly what's going on. And a lot of it doesn't make sense. A lot of the stuff that they're telling us out there in the media and the news, it doesn't make sense. But they're conditioning us to think that it does make sense. And listen, I know, I'm involved in marketing. I know about psychology, what the strategies that we're using. Yeah. So I know exactly what they're doing. And they just keep on saying the same thing, the same thing, the same thing. And it just programs into people's heads. Subliminally, they're getting into our heads subliminally, into our subconscious.
Sure.
Most people can't see it.
And just to sort of on Bitcoin, like, I think that what of course, sure, I'm not the best lad trying to explain this, but I do my best. But for me, the massive value is there's no money printer in Bitcoin. A money printer is the enemy of anyone who owns money. So the money, if you have any savings, a money printer is your enemy, because as you say, it dilutes everything you have. In Bitcoin, there's no money printer. Okay, we have miners who mine Bitcoin. Okay, but that's how this new currency, this new money, is being fairly issued throughout the world through the process of mining, fair issuance, I suppose. So Bitcoin solves the problem of inflating a money supply. And I was only having this conversation with my dad earlier. We were chatting about it. And, there's two ways to think. There's one way of economics, and I'm no expert on this. I've no degrees, no official training in it, other than just living in the real world. And one is that inflation is good. And then the Bitcoin thinking is, no, inflation is bad. So fiat thinking is inflation is good, your money should lose value over time. Okay? And Bitcoin thinking is, no, inflation is theft. Your money should store its value over time. And like, if you say it like that rationally, it's like, well, that makes common sense. Who the hell wants theft? But everyone wants theft because that's the system that we use and live in. And most people haven't yet got Bitcoin, and this is the whole value of Bitcoin. Let's say if we go back 100 years and when you worked for gold, you knew you stood. You could exchange your time for money, get your little bag of gold coins, put them somewhere safe, and in 20 years when you want to retire, you know that little bag of gold coins will still buy you the same amount of stuff as it bought 20 years ago. In fact, it might buy you slightly more. All right? But that's been taken away from humans now, and that we can't do that. So that if I work now for 10 years and I get my euros and I put them in a safe, and in 20 years I come out to spend them, what will they have? They'll have half the purchasing power, probably less. At current inflation levels, we lose half the purchasing power every 9 years. So in 2 decades, well, what's that mean? I've got a quarter of my money left. That's theft of my time, okay? And Bitcoin fixes this, because I've said this to you before when we were chatting. Humans need 3 things. We need food, we need shelter, and we need an ability to save. And our ability to save has been taken away. And as you say, technology should make things cheaper. Should be cheaper. Look at how much more efficient. One human is probably got the efficiency of at least 5 humans 20 years ago with that smartphone in their hand, with everything we can do on that thing. All right, you and I both know we're entrepreneurs. You can run your business off that thing. Whereas previously, you had to have offices and staff and driving there, and you can just do it all here while they're sitting in their house. But yet, we're still working harder than ever. With that logic of, well, a human is 5 times more efficient. Okay, basic logic. Well, a human should work 5 times less. Unless they want to make 5 times more money, then they can work the same as the 5 times, okay? But if they want to work less, if they're 5 times more efficient, well, they should work 5 times less hours a week. But that's not the case. Humans work more now, yeah, and harder. So it's just that's for me the value of Bitcoin, is that it's a savings vehicle, and humanity needs a savings vehicle. Governments need a savings vehicle. Corporations need an ability to save. We all need it.
Yeah, definitely. Because if we're saving in fiat, You're at nothing. That's the way I see it. And here's an example. And this is when it really struck me. I have a few savings schemes that I've set up over the couple of years. And one of them, just by chance, last year, my financial advisor rang me and told me that, would you be interested in increasing the savings every month? And I said, okay, let's go through the numbers. And this is when I started really going in, and I was thinking, and I started really getting about Bitcoin. But this really clicked it for me. So I had the savings scheme, so I think for about 12 years, I was putting, I don't know how much, 200 into it. A month was just coming out of my bank. So I had contributed myself about 18,000 of my own money that I gave to the bank. They were saving for me. Okay, so I asked the financial advisor, how much have I made on that? And so if you had a great return, it's brilliant, it's this. How much? Give me the figure. You've made about 4,200 on it. So I said, I gave you 18,000 approximately, and I've only made over 12 years, and I've only made 4,200. Okay, and she said, yeah, but she said, that's not what you get. You're going to pay your dirt tax on it. I said, okay, so how much is my dirt tax? I think it was like 30% or 40% that was coming out. So I can't remember the figures now, exactly what they were. So I think I made about 2,600 profit over 12 years, giving them my own money for them to invest. And I said, I'm only getting 2,600 euros. How does that make sense? And I was questioning her, how does that make sense? Oh, well, that's the way it is, and that's the way it works. I said to her, that's a scam. That sounds like a scam to me. And I drew it down, and you know what I done with it then anyway? I wasn't going to put it back into fiat. I was going to put it into another fiat money system or anything like that. So I invested it in a digital asset that I done the work on it. I can see the value on what it's going to be in 10 years' time. You know? And that's when it really, really clicked with me. And there's a few other things now that I need to draw down as well. And I have been drawn down on things. Yeah. My financial advisor telling me, oh, I think you're mad. I think you're doing this. I don't think you're doing the right thing. Do you really know what you're doing? And I've had talks with them, and I'm saying to them, yeah, well, you tell me why I shouldn't do it. You know, this is what I've done already with, I tested it with 100 euros, and this is what I got. But I'm not saying that can happen all the time, but I can wait. I'm in no hurry. It's just a waiting game for me now. I'll just DCA, dollar cost average, wherever I can. When the price goes down like the way it is, I'm going all in, and I'm buying more because I think there's a sale on right now with everything that has to happen. But before we get into that down the line in this conversation. So that's when it really, really clicks for me with those numbers. And there's a lot of people out there in Ireland that are doing the exact same thing as what I'm doing. And
I was just putting the numbers into the calculator there, you know, because earning 2 grand on 18 grand or 16 grand over 12 years, you're not even beating inflation. Like your purchasing power is less. Although
yeah,
you know, and that's how I think people are fooled. The normal man who doesn't understand how money works or how inflation works, they think, oh, well, I'm getting 2 grand, so I'm doing all right. But they don't realize that when you go out there into the market and you try and spend your 2 grand, or you add your 2 grand to your 16 grand and you've net 18 grand, well, the purchasing power of that 18 grand doesn't buy as much stuff as 12 years ago if you tried to buy something with the 16 grand. You know, so it's even with the interest, you're still losing. You're still getting per.
you're at nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing. You're going backwards.
you're
That's
going
what you're
backwards.
really doing.
Yeah. Um, why do you see the future of Bitcoin being so positive? You know, what is it that stands out to you? Is it just that you see it as a savings technology, something that you can use, and that the world is going to figure this out as well, or is there anything particular? Or
I see Bitcoin as a number of things. I see it as a technology. It's a software. That's where I see it. I think it's hope for a lot of people as well with money and as a store of value. It's freedom as well. What people don't understand, Bitcoin is freedom. I've got assets. I've got hard assets. I've got property. If something happens in a country, how do I get rid of that asset in 10 minutes? Or if a war breaks out, and I know people say a war won't break out, but we have a war in Europe, or the start of a war or something at the moment. Planes start coming over our country and bombing us. How do you move your house in 10 minutes or 10 hours or 10 months even? You can't. You're just sitting there like a target to get demolished. Yeah. But with Bitcoin, I can move it. I can take it anywhere I want. I can transfer it anywhere in the world.
I'd be moving myself first if there's bombs dropping. I wouldn't worry about the house.
Yeah, but people that have investments, like second investments and stuff like that, you can't move, and you can't move a lot of these physical assets that people have been conditioned to invest in and have been investing in for a long, long time. And that's how people get demolished as well.
It's a good point there that you bring up, and I think there's probably some value in explaining that some people might understand, because people ask me, can I get my money out of Bitcoin? Bitcoin is probably, or not probably, Bitcoin is the most liquid thing on the planet. Find another asset that you can sell €1,000,000 worth at like 1 o'clock on a Sunday night or something. You know, you can literally get your money out of Bitcoin anytime. You can't do that with traditional assets, you know, so it's like, and that is the fear of people when they buy Bitcoin. Can I get my money back out of this thing? And the answer to that is, as you're saying, it's like, yes, this is the most liquid thing on the planet. Like, you can get in and get out of Bitcoin any time of day, any day of the week, even Christmas Day.
Any minute.
Yeah.
Any minute. That's how quick it is to liquidate and get your money back out. And until you go in and start doing it and buying it and seeing it and playing around with it, you'll never know. You know, everybody needs to learn about this. That's why I'm so passionate about it. That's why we're training our own dentists about it. We're training them, yeah, about this and showing them exactly how this works and how much freedom they can have from having this asset.
Talk to me a little bit about, because I know you've been helping me in using your event management skills in setting up the Bitcoin meetup that we have next week. Since you've got your head around Bitcoin, sold some fiat to buy Bitcoin or converted some savings into Bitcoin, and obviously then, you know, when we understand Bitcoin, I think we're all guilty of it. We get excited about it, or you see your net worth increase and you're like, it's like anything that's cool. You go to a nice restaurant, you have an amazing meal. What do? You tell your buddies, oh, the food in there was savage. You go anywhere, someone valets your car, they do an amazing job, much better than any other valeter. What do? You tell your buddies, I was down there. So I find the same with Bitcoin, that when you understand it and it's done good for you, all you want to do is teach other people who you know are getting smashed. They're in a boat on the rocks, like getting crucified, and you're like, come on around the corner here, there's like a sheltered bay, it's lovely and sunny and we're all sunbathing. But how have you found, when you talk to your buddies, your mates, your family, people who don't get it, have you found there's much pushback, there's ignorance, there's misunderstanding, or what have you found yourself personally?
I found myself personally, 90% of people push back and they don't understand it, and it'd be the same way that I didn't understand it like 2 years ago. But that's okay. That's okay. Everybody is going to understand it in the future, and everybody's going to need it, and they're going to want it in the future. That's what's going to happen. Yeah. And the way I actually see Bitcoin is like the internet. Okay. Everything is stacked on top of the internet. Right? 30 years ago, we didn't know about this. We're doing a Zoom call now. That's stacked on top of the internet. Google is on the internet. Facebook is on the internet. Instagram, all these social platforms are on the internet. I see Bitcoin in less time than that, maybe 15 years, that a lot of things are going to be on like the internet, or are going to be stacked on Bitcoin, or have branched out from Bitcoin. That's the way I see it. That's how big of an opportunity I see it. And if you invested in the internet 30 years ago, or were able to buy a piece of the internet, imagine the value of that, what that's going to be worth right now, 30 years later. That's the way I see it. And that's the way I think it's going to go. I think even bigger.
the network is nearly more valuable than the product.
Yeah.
Because all the big companies of today, their valuation is their network, not their product. The valuation is in the size of their network, not their product.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is, by buying Bitcoin today, you're buying the network when no one understands it. You're buying Facebook when there's only 100 people on
Yeah. That's
it.
it. That's it.
You're buying Facebook when there's a million people on it, and there's going to be whatever there is. There's a billion or 2 billion, 3 billion. I don't know what's on Facebook now, but they do have a number in the billions.
And that being said, it's the same as the people that I'm learning from as well. I'm learning from smarter people than me. People that the likes of Michael Saylor, Rao Pal, Ray Dalio, the people that invested in Google, the people that invested in Apple when it was 15, 20 years ago, when nobody was investing in it. These people invested in it, and they are like billionaires there,
Yeah, I think, and that's what we're all doing. We're all learning and we aggregate information. Like, I'll listen to pro Bitcoin stuff and then I'll listen to anti Bitcoin stuff. And I try and always listen to as much anti Bitcoin stuff as I can. Otherwise, you just you get in confirmation bias and you can get lost. So I try and be really, really open minded. I think that's always stood to me, is the ability to be not afraid to be wrong and to not afraid to do a full 180 if I think I need to. And then, so you take in information, and then you use your understanding of the world, because we all have a different understanding of the world. And something like Bitcoin, I think we all understand it slightly different, and we all get our own interpretation of it. And I think our interpretation grows over time. So we take information in, and then we process our worldview, and then we come up with it. And it's hard to find people. I know they do exist. It's not that there's zero people like this, but it's hard to find people who, as you say, who do the work and who come to the conclusion, nah, that thing's hype. No, that's just a Ponzi scheme. No, there's no intrinsic value in that. Like, it is difficult to get, someone who can keep an open mind, who's not fully incentivized to come up with an anti-Bitcoin opinion. Okay, it's very easy if you're incentivized, if you're, whatever that quote is, if your job depends on you not understanding something, well, you're probably not going to understand it. But someone who's open-minded and has nothing to gain, yay or nay, of Bitcoin, and just wants to subjectively look at it and understand it. I haven't met anyone personally in my network who I've dealt with who's open-mindedly done, a good bit of work on it and consumed a lot of information and came to the conclusion that, no, this is overrated, or this is a short-term thing, or this is going away. It's always, there's massive asymmetry here, meaning there's so much upside. Yes, there's always risk. There's risk with everything. There's risk with leaving your money in the bank. In fact, it's not risk. It's just a guarantee. You're going to have less money in 5 years. Okay.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. So
that's it.
There's not really risk. It's just there is consequence, and nothing can change that. It's fiat money is programmed to go down in value over time. But the asymmetry of Bitcoin, when you do the work and you're open-minded, I think, and anyone can comment here if they're listening and you've done the work and prove me wrong, but I'm yet to meet someone who says, no, I'm not going to take a tiny little bet, with my finances. I can bet 1% of them. I can keep 99% in guaranteed to lose money over time, and I can bet the 1% into something that's programmed to go up in value over time.
Yeah. And when we talk about doing the work, most people haven't done 2 hours of work on Bitcoin. They've had a few conversations, 30-minute, 10 or 15-minute conversation here and there about it. But I really think that you need to do a minimum of 30 to 40 hours of work and looking into it, looking at videos, to really just start getting a little incline about it. But when you've done about 100 hours of work, then if you put in the time of at least 100 hours to watch videos, watch other smarter people than you, start listening to what they're saying, you're going to start getting it. And then when you get it, you will never have enough of Bitcoin, because you'll understand what's going to happen with it in the future. That's my take on it anyway. Yeah.
It's like the Matrix. You can't get put back in once you get woken up and all the wires get pulled out of you.
Yeah.
You look at the world differently and you can't go back in. Once I think you understand fiat money, it almost gets to the point of you start to think, why am I even working? what is the point in me exchanging my time for money? I know I need this money thing, but it's such a rigged game that maybe I just bend the rules a little bit. Maybe I just own hard assets and the game takes care of it for me. And that's what wealthy people do. That's why 2020 to today has been one of the biggest wealth transfers, and that the poor and middle class, all their wealth has just been taken from them and it's been given to those who understand the system, who don't save in money like euros or pound sterling or anything like that trash, and they save in hard assets. Okay, whether it's property or whether it's Bitcoin, but they save in an asset, and assets have gone up in value so much. Like Bitcoin has gone up so much, property has gone up so much, um, and that's why the wealth has been taken from the poor and middle class, because they don't understand this, they don't get it, and that's why, guys, anyone who's listening to this, do the channel a favor, share the content, stick it out there, throw a like in, throw a comment in. It helps get this message out. The Crypto with Dinny message is to bring Bitcoin understanding to Irish people. Yes, we've amazing people from all over the world, and you're welcome, and we love sharing that as well. But it relies on the community. Bitcoin is all about community. Humans work better together. So if you're a part of the community, share the stream, send it to your friends. If Bitcoin has done you good, I think it's your duty then to teach other people how it works and how it does good. Because as Lawrence says, Fiat is doing you bad. Fiat is robbing you every
That's a fact. That's a fact. You just need to wake up to it. That's what you need to do, to wake up to what's going on. But a lot of people won't wake up and they're going to get demolished. People have no idea what's coming in the next 6 to 9 months. And we won't go into that too much. We don't want to put too much fear out there with people, but there's a lot of suffering coming. Yeah, because it's just turning. The curve is just starting now at the top. We've been on a bit of a high for the last year or two or whatever with investments in stock exchange, but it's starting to turn. The curve is starting. It's going to take about 6 to 9 months before it really impacts on what's happening.
Yeah, there's a lot of recession talk lately, and if we have one, for me, it's always been a foregone conclusion. It's like you can't turn the world off and turn it on again and think you get away with that, lads. It's like the amount of energy to get this thing going again. There's going to be messes. There's going to be consequences. And I ain't no genius. I'm just a pleb who lives in the real world, and just, it's almost just like sometimes I think people are too clever about things. And it's almost like sometimes, you know what I mean? Let's say if you're trying to fix something, let's say I used to work at steelwork, and there's two of us, we're down on the floor and we're there welding with the bracket and everything, and some lad's walking by with his dog, and he just goes, "Hey lads, the thing is in the wrong place there." And we're there working on it, we're the experts on it, and some lad's walking by with his dog, and he can see that we're trying to weld a bracket on the wrong side of the, something stupid or silly. And I think that sometimes can happen in situations. It's almost, the less you know, the more open-minded you can be, and the more you can see something that's so in your face. And you're like, well, an expert could never miss that. But I think, I don't know, maybe it's just irony, or maybe it's just Dinny talk or waffle, but sometimes I just feel maybe that's the way it is, because how can a pleb like me in my fucking Real Bedford jersey, sort of see a recession being guaranteed and predictable for the last probably year we're talking about on Crypto Dinny, and the talking heads and economist experts, tumbleweed. They didn't even see inflation coming, and we've been talking about that for 2 years.
Well, sure, look what's happening. All these people with all these economists and degrees and everything, they're supposed to be running the country, supposed to be doing some of the best things that they're meant to be doing. So we're getting deeper and deeper and deeper into a hole. They're making things worse. And these are supposed to be smart, educated people that we're meant to be listening to. They're making up bags of it.
It's a systemic problem. I think the whole world is just a systemic problem. And it all comes from a money printer, because a money printer, what it does is it changes the laws of the universe. It means that there's no consequences. There's nothing else on the planet. Human life, universe, everything relies on consequences, action, and then a reaction, or an opposite to the action, or a consequence. And a money printer takes that away, and therefore it changes human actions. It changes the whole structure of how we live our life and how our planet works, and how everything works together, and everything is interconnected. Like every action I take, I always, have the opinion like that literally one single different action I can make in this second totally changes the path of my life as I go forward. That every time, so we have all these actions, everything in the world is connected, yet the money printer, it sort of skews the relationship of everything. And it causes, and I just say, like, look around, look at our health. Can you not see that we're in a consume society? No one is thinking of their future. No one is thinking, I'm going to have a banger. I'm 50 now and fat as a barrel. I could have a banger in 5 years. Everyone's just thinking of the short term, the short term. And that's because people's ability to save, people's ability to have a good future has been taken away from them. And they're just trying to survive day to day.
Yeah.
And we're in the Western world. We've it easy. That's the irony. So it's just like, it's a system that can't continue, Fiat. And, how long it can't continue, probably will continue, may continue for the rest of my lifetime. But it's hard to see how quality of life for the individuals who operate fully within the fiat system and don't put themselves partially on a Bitcoin standard, I suppose I call it. That's what I call it. Like, I've got a partial Bitcoin standard. I'm not 100% on a Bitcoin standard, okay? Because I can't buy stuff with Bitcoin that I want to buy in Rush. They don't take Bitcoin for Guinness in Rush, okay? But I'm on a partial Bitcoin standard, and I'm not 100% in fiat world, but I see people who are stuck 100% in fiat world. It's difficult for me to see the quality of their life improving over the next 10 or 20 years, or it's difficult for me to see that they are going to have more of their time for their money in 10 or 20 years. But we know on our partial Bitcoin standard, Bitcoin is giving us back our time, okay? So therefore, we are going to have more of our time in the future available to us by having a Bitcoin standard, because we're saving in the money that's programmed to go up in value over time. Now, where people go wrong is, and it is what scares people, and I think you're down the rabbit hole, I'm down the rabbit hole, and we understand the volatility, that this thing is a new technology, it's an early stage technology, and there's mad volatility, and sometimes Bitcoin goes down. And I bought Bitcoin at 67 grand, the very top, because I dollar cost average, so I bought all the highs, okay? And as it goes down, I'm still buying. And because it's my long-term savings technology, I only put money into Bitcoin that I don't need for 4 years, okay? And therefore the volatility doesn't affect me. But for people who come in and they don't understand it, they think it's get rich quick, and as you say, the most difficult bit is putting that few quid in, the 50, the 100, whatever it is, and seeing it move. And if it moves up, you think you're a genius, but if it moves down, you think you're a fool, and all your friends who told you it was a scam are all right. So it is a journey, and I think it all comes back to and it's probably the best advice, and you've said it about 4 times on this, is to do the work and to get your education, so you understand that by putting yourself on a partial Bitcoin standard, this isn't a short-term game. This is a thing for the rest of your life. For the rest of my life, I'll be on a partial Bitcoin standard, and maybe my percentage on that Bitcoin standard increases. I think it does increase, because generally my fiat standard, I just get my wages and that sort of stays the same. I consume, but my Bitcoin standard is growing. Every couple of years it's growing. So therefore my percentage, if I'm 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, 80, 90-10, 99, 1% on fiat standard, hopefully we get there someday. But for me, Bitcoin is a play for life. It's not just a get rich quick. So therefore the volatility doesn't affect me.
Yeah. Well, I've made up my mind anyway. With my Bitcoin, I'm not selling it for a minimum of 10 years. Minimum. I'm not touching it. Now, unless something drastically happens, okay? But that's my plan. It's my pension plan.
Yeah, think of it like a pension. That's exactly what we
do. And I have a pension already, and I'm about to strip that down, because that's going nowhere. And with the crash that's going to come, that's going to get demolished. So I'm screaming at my financial advisor, I need to take this out on it. They're trying their best to stop me from doing it. That's what you're doing.
They don't want to give you your money.
That's it.
You thought you owned your own money.
Yeah, you don't. Wait till you start drawing it down.
That's a good point. And again, I'm just trying to shape this conversation because it's really good, but for the benefit of new people. Bitcoin isn't money you can own. Fiat isn't the money that you own. Fiat is a money that you seek permission to use, but it can be turned off at any stage. Okay? Ask the Canadian truckers or anyone who donated to the protests, even if, regardless of where you were, if you donated to them, you're in Canada, they froze your bank account. Even if you only sent 20 quid, when it was a legal protest, it was just a gathering of people, peaceful protest. And I says, you know what? I don't like this mandatory medicine. I'm going to send them 20 quid. I got excluded from financial services. My money was turned off. Same happened with the Russians. So the world has basically found out this year only that you don't own your fiat money. You don't own your euro. You don't own your dollar. You just use them.
You don't own anything.
And they
You
can
don't
be
actually
turned
own
off.
anything.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff you don't own. Any of your assets as well. Your property, that can be taken from you. Your land can be seized from you. Your car out in your garden can be seized from you.
Yeah, and but your Bitcoin can't. Bitcoin is the most censorship resistant thing that you can own. And again, it's another stumbling block of people, oh, it's digital, I don't understand it. Or, oh, it's digital, I can't hold my Bitcoin in my hand. But my argument is, you can't hold your euros in your hand. They're digital. Euros are probably 99%, 90% digital. They don't exist in the real world. There's not notes in a bank. There's nothing in a bank, only ones and zeros on a computer screen. If you go in and ask for money, that's why you can't even get 5 grand out. That a bank with thousands of customers, they don't have 5,000 euros worth in cash. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like euros are digital money that you can never own. Bitcoin is digital money, you can own it. You can hold it in your hand on a hardware wallet, and you can take it to your grave if you want. You can't do that with your euros. You die, what is it? Inheritance tax. You lose a lot of those euros. Can't do that with your Bitcoin. You can take that stuff to heaven, baby.
Yeah. And it's something like I was watching an interview a few months ago with Michael Saylor, and he said it's like the pharaohs years ago. They thought they were going to build these massive pyramids. They're going to bury themselves in all their wealth and their gold and everything. What happened 100 years later? The pyramids got raided. All the gold was taken out of them. Yeah, everything was robbed. But I tell you one thing: once you take that Bitcoin off the exchange, you put onto a hardware wallet, and you have them 24 codes, and you don't give them codes to anybody, you know, nobody can rob that from you. Now they might hold a gun to your head and shoot you, and you're gone, but they're never going to get that Bitcoin.
No, if you want to die with your Bitcoin, you just get your words, then you throw them in the fire, and then the Bitcoin's dead, and then you die.
Yeah.
Unless they do MacGyver on it, and they're there with the old newspaper trying to see what the words are on the burnt paper. Lawrence, what do you think the price of Bitcoin is going to be in 10 years? You can give me a bullish answer and a bearish answer, or you can just give me one. I don't mind. Bit of crap, not financial advice, just
it's not financial advice. It's from what I've been looking at. I'm looking at a lot of smarter people, as I said, than I am. I think at the moment, well, I know at the moment there's a lot of regulation and a lot of policy going on behind the scenes, and there's a lot of talk about it in different countries all over the world. There's different bills being pushed in America at the moment into the Senate, and they're talking about it. At the moment, there's about $300 trillion worth of assets being managed by institutions, pension funds, all the big money funds. 300 trillion. So to bring that up to what it actually means, 1,000 billion is 1 trillion, and there's 300 trillion being managed. Now, a lot of the managers that manage those funds have actually invested in Bitcoin themselves behind the scenes. But at the moment, they're not allowed to take those funds and put it into Bitcoin or digital assets because they're just not allowed to at the moment. That's what all the regulation is going to be. It needs, yeah, it needs to be regulated, and it will be regulated. And so when it's regulated, I reckon it's going to happen in about 24 to 36 months. Those funds are going to test the water and probably put maybe 2 to 3% of what they're managing into Bitcoin and maybe a few other stable coins out there or a few other things, and they're going to test it. And when that happens, with 2 to 3% of that 300 trillion, I can see one Bitcoin by maybe 2025 to 2026 at the start of it going up to about $1 million. By 2030, I think myself that Bitcoin could be up to $10 million for one coin, because these institutions are going to just get in, and then we will not be able to buy it because we will be out outpriced for buying Satoshis. And what people don't understand as well, and I didn't get this as well, we're always talking about Bitcoin. When I'm talking to my dentist now, I'm talking about Satoshis. There's 100 million Satoshis in one Bitcoin. So if you want to buy a property or a house or an apartment, you cannot buy a block out of a house. But with Bitcoin, you can buy one block. And at the moment, even with the crash, one Satoshi is worth 0.0003 of a cent. Anybody can afford that. Anybody can afford that to start stacking your sats. So stack your sats. Don't think about buying one whole Bitcoin, which that's the way I was thinking 2 years ago. But now I realize I can just start stacking my stats at 50 euros a week if I want to, 100 euros a week, whatever I want every week, whatever my plan is, or whatever your viewers' plans are. Yeah, but that's where I see it going. Might be a bit out there, but I'm listening to a lot of smart people out there.
We'd be happy enough there. We'd be happy enough at 10 million of Bitcoin. That would do for the few sats we're collecting. We'd be all would be good. Lawrence, thanks for today. It was awesome to chat to you. If we've any dentists on, maybe they can reach out. Where can they find you?
They can find us on megladental.eu or meglamedia.eu. Just go in there to see what we're all about. And yeah, that's, if you're a dentist, let us help you get in more of those high value patients, and let us teach you about Bitcoin. And
there you go.
And how you can protect yourself as well. And as I say, Bitcoin is insurance. It is to me, and it's freedom, and it's a way of saving in something that's going to go up in value over time, not down in value over time, like our fiat currency that we have been using.
Awesome. Lawrence, thanks for today, man. That was brilliant.
No problem. Talk to you again. See you on Wednesday as well at the event. Anybody that's out there.